Hello, everyone.
Hi, and welcome back. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Bisola. Hi, everybody. Okay, so I want to officially welcome all of us again for another session with the ByteBuilder team. And so I think we have said a lot about last time. I'll just do a little maybe recap on it. So last time we actually took a look at the genesis of tech, and we went ahead to look at the internet, its architecture, and how it powers everything we do online, right? So we even demonstrated examples on how data travels across the internet and what happens behind the scenes, what happens when you visit a website. And finally, we took a look at the history of the web from 1969 right up to present day, how the first successful connection was made, and how we first had the very first website that was developed using HTML only. And then we went further to look at the big guys who came in and started writing the things that could work, things that could change how we saw things that could change how we search, like Larry Page. We saw the founders of Google came and were able to make sure that we are able to search whatever thing we want to search on the internet with ease. We also went further to look at the people we came up with JavaScript and how they added functionalities to the web pages that were being created at that time. Then we also fast forwarded to see how the revolution of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter came about, right up to where we started having mobile applications and first mobile responsive webs were created when they first launched the iOS devices, the iPhone. And we went further to see the development of frameworks, which we said they were pre-written code written by some developers to ease your work as a beginner, so that you wouldn't have to be coding a lot, you wouldn't have to read a lot and all of that. And we also went ahead to see the generation of the AI, the Web 3D, blockchain technology, all of that. So that's a recap of what we saw last time. So today we are going to be looking at a very interesting topic where we get started with things as a beginner, as a starter, and as someone who is new to tech as a whole. So we are going to be looking at Git, GitHub, and collaboration. That is what we are going to be looking at today. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, just let me know if you can see my screen. And please react with an emoji if you're excited to dive in. That's great, Chinedu. All right. So we are going to be looking at Git, like I said. Please, if you can see my screen, let me know. I I don't know if I should share it. Okay, can you see the presentation? All right. So today we are going to turn our attention to Git, where we are going to be looking at what Git is, how it is going to help us in our web programming applications. We're going to look at it together, and after which we are going to be looking at merge conflicts. We explain that later as a session move ahead by branching, and then we'll look at some more features that are really going to. So we are going to be looking at Git today and how we can use this tool for version control and development during and collaboration during our development. So what is this tool called Git? Is where we are going to turn our focus to today. So Git is actually the backbone of modern software applications, because most of the times where the developers want to work on a project, they use this particular tool called Git to be able to, collaborate with one another. And this tool is actually like a command line tool. So if you have ever used the CMD tool on Windows or Mac, you'll be able to understand exactly what I'm trying to talk about. So Git, it's actually a command line tool that allows developers to be able to version control in different ways. And some of these ways we are going to focus on today. So one of the very first ways that this tool helps us is by allowing us to actually keep track of the changes that we make to our code by saving something like we call snapshots. Like when you take a screenshot of an activity that you're currently doing on a particular window, and you don't actually want to lose that information at that time. So Git allows you to keep track of those changes in that manner, so that you can come again later on and visit them. So let's take a scenario where you and a classmate or a colleague or some other person with whom you are working on a particular project. And let's say you create a file. You create a file on your local repository. So when you first create this file is local to you. So it's only you that has this particular file at that time, which you just created it. Now, let's say you went ahead to make another change. Let's say the file, you just wanted to create a list or a variable that you assign some values to it. And you went ahead to, add another variable to that file which you had created. Let's say you added a line used for demonstrations so you understand how you came later on and removed the line that you added. You are the only one still having this copy of the file which you have created. So Git can actually let you add these changes or track these changes in some way that we are going to see as we move. Now, another way that Git helps us is it allows us to, synchronize code between you and the person or the someone that you're working on a project with, but allow you people to, have the same information, the same information that is on a particular file from different sources. So let's say you had a repository that you worked on with your friend, and you have been working on your own version of the file. Let's say the file is just to give a list of a list of the number of items you use or the number of gadgets you use in a week. So this file lives inside a repository where you and your friends you work on. And you first create your own file and you put your own things, and your friend creates their own file on their local computer and put their own information on it. The goal of it is that it should be a list either alphabetically or whatever way that you use to create that list. But the agreement is that people should come up with a list that you're able to list the number of gadgets that you use in your room. So Git allows for synchronization in a way that when you people, you sort of like pull each other's file using a technique that we are going to see. There is, when you pull that into your own repository, there is what we call a synchronization. Since people work on the same kind of files from different computers, when you bring them together, there is what we call synchronization. So synchronization happens when you both had a file on your local computer and you people decided to store it somewhere. Remember, we looked at the internet and we said that for you to be able to access information that is not here, maybe somewhere stored somewhere, and two people working on that same document, you actually need an internet connection provided by your ISPs. So this synchronization actually happens in a repository stored on the web. So we are going to see various services that offers us the facility to be able to store our repositories on the web. So you will create a repository, or your friend creates a repository on the web, and stores it on some kind of a server where you both know and can access. So this computer here on this image on your left, it's actually yours with your own changes that you have made. So you wrote something like A, B, C, or B and C, and what the people had created before was stored on that server. Now you kind of like pull the information onto your local computer, keeping the exact same copy that is found on the server, and your friends sort of pull their own copy from the same repository stored on that server onto their computers. Now, how does synchronization happen between you two? So when you first make changes to the copy you had pulled from online, your friend also makes changes to the same copy but on different lines. Maybe you inputted different information. Your friend had inputted a phone that they had used, an iPad, or you had used maybe a desktop for that week, and you added that to the list you first had. The list that contains the gadgets you had used for a week, and your friend adds an iPad and you add a desktop to yours. Now, synchronization between you two happens when you push the changes you both had made onto the server that is having the repository where the original file lives. So that is what GitHub allows us to do when we are working on a project with a friend. So when you synchronize this, it means you actually push your changes and your friend also pushes their changes onto the repository that contains the list of files. Now, when you both have done this, remember that when you both were doing this, it was sort of a way that Git allowed the two of you to be able to, make changes and test to make sure that your list was correct. And probably you were working on two different branches, and the concept of branches will be seen later as we go ahead. So you actually made changes on your local file, your friend made their own changes, you tested and you saw that your list was okay. And somehow you two happen to have been working from the branch that is different from where the main repository is being saved. And when you do these changes, you have synchronized them. Git allows us to be able to merge. So merging is another concept that allows you to be able to join. So the aspect of joining, which is still part of what we see as synchronization, is actually one of the ways Git allows you to be able to bring together what you and your friend have been able to do together and sort of a way merge it. So you test your changes without losing the original copy, because the original copy is still saved inside the main repository. So when you have tested and seen that your list is correct, now you go ahead and push. Once you push, there is what we call merge. So merging is that process where they bring together what you and your friend have done and put it on the same file, on the same branch, inside that repository that lives on the server. So this thing happens. So this picture here actually demonstrates when you are testing without losing the original copy. So the copy here still says you had added an iPad, or your friend had added a desktop on the list, and now you are going to test the changes without losing the original copy by pushing it to that server from a different branch onto the main branch that is onto the main repository that has the file. Now, once this is done, there is what we call merging. So they'll bring your changes from your local computer, test it on a different branch and saying that you had added something, and the added information is going to be merged. So it's sort of like updating. So you update the original file that lives on the server, the original repository that has the file living on the server. And not only that, Git also allows us to be able to revert back. Maybe you added something on your list which you did not actually want it to be on that list, and somehow you want to remove the added item on that list. So Git gives you that advantage to be able to revert back to earlier versions of the file. In this case of web development, we say of your code. So if you realize that you have made a mistake by adding a pencil, which is not part of a gadget except an electronic pencil, you want to sort of like go back to the previous version of your file. And I don't, most of us, we use Word. I think this is common with Word. When you had maybe done an edit on a file and you want to like go back. So there is what we call undo. There is an undo function on our Word document. It's the same way, same mechanism that Git uses to revert back, but it's not the same syntax that Git uses. Git has a different syntax, as we are going, different command per se that we are going to see. So when Git, apart from Git only allowing us to be able to go back to previous versions, like I was explaining, you see that you had added a file, you created this file, you added maybe line, let's say you added a D and you wanted to remove B because you had made a mistake. So you sort of like revert back to the older version of your file, or maybe you had added this, and when you wanted to synchronize the file, you mistakenly removed one line and you wanted to add it back. So you can go back to the previous version and you sort of like you add what you wanted to do and you follow the same procedure and you merge. So that is it for us. That is how Git works. These are some of the powerful mechanisms that Git gives us to be able to navigate our code base and make changes to different versions, sort of a way called version control. So I would end here to ask if there are any questions, any worries, maybe. Is it understood? All right, Christian, I could unmute.
Okay, hi. I just wanted to recap if I understood it properly. So from what
Okay.
I've understood, Git is like a tree with branches, where each branch is like we are working on a branch. And when we are done working on a branch, merging the branch is like merging the branch of a tree to the stem or the trunk of the tree. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, something like that. Something
Okay.
like that. So is
Then
there any other?
then
Okay.
then what if is it compulsory to make a bulk? Can you make bulk changes to your code and upload it, or you have to do it bit by bit before you upload?
Well, you can do that. We are going to have hands-on practice on how you can do that. You can do it bulk. You can also do it bit by bit. But if you do it bulk, it will save you a lot of stress because before you actually merge, you must have gone through all of the different files to make sure that the code or whatever edit you made on the files is actually correct and ready to be merged. Okay, thank you, Christian. Is there any other person? All right, Bulaya, you can unmute.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't understand how Git can revert back for the version. I don't know if you can explain to me practically. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes, we are going to see that in a bit. So I just wanted to stop here to make sure that you have understood the theoretical part of Git before we move into the practical.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Is there any other person? Oh, Clarence, you can unmute. Yes, please.
First and foremost, I would like to say thank you. From my perspective, I understand Git is like a kind of site that you both can change code. But one thing I didn't understand was if I having to change my like device or my friend change his device. So I didn't understand that part. Like, what becomes if my friend changes device or I change my device, or what will be the outcome?
All right, that's a very good question. Okay, now remember we said you have agreed that we assume that the repository on which all the repository on which we are both working on, say you and I, it's stored on a server online. And so if you change your device, you'll still be able to download the original copy of the file that we first made before saving that repository online. So we are going to see in the next steps as we do all of this. That is why I asked last time that we both come today with our laptops so that we are going to, do something really interesting and see how these tools actually work. So don't worry, we are going to explain that and you will see how it works live. So we are going to be doing that live today. Aaron?
How you doing, sir? So firstly, let me say a big thanks to you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I came a little bit late and I did not get almost all the lessons. So I just want you to please, do a little overview for me, please.
Okay, this is what is going to happen, Aaron. I was just explaining the theoretical part of the Git. So what we are going to do is, as we move into the practical session of it, I'm going to do a recap for you as we get the tools, we see how they work, we start interacting with them. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe we should continue. Now, we have been talking a lot about repository. I don't know if anyone had doubts or doesn't understand what a Git repository is. So, what a Git repository is, you can look at it as a file or some sort of folder that keeps your project files together. So like a folder that keeps your project files. So what was written here, a Git repository is a file located where you store all the files related to a given project. So if you're working on a particular project, say maybe your final year project, you were grouped into groups of 7. You agree that, okay, we have the front end, you have the UI UX. So that alone will be stored in one big file called a repository. So the repository is going to have the file of the files or the folders of the front end, the folder for the back end, the folder for other people that will be doing other things different from what you will be doing in that particular project. So this repository can either be stored online or on a local computer, like I was saying. So from what we have been saying, our goal for today is to learn how to use this tool and to learn all of the different Git commands that are really common, the really common ones, the most popular ones, so that we don't get you confused as you go about developing your web applications. So the very first thing I want us to do today is to be able to install Git. So before we begin the practical work, we should be able to install Git. So installing Git on your computer actually advantage to be able to use the various Git commands that we'll be talking about locally. So I don't know if you have your laptops with you. So we are getting into the practice. You'll be able to do something today. So
Please, sir, sorry to interrupt. Before we proceed, like if there's a specific Git app, because I think I'm using a Git desktop here. Is there a specific one that I should get, or this version is good?
your version is good. I will just send a link into the message box. You just compare with yours. So I send the link. So from that link, you'll be able to get the Git application, which we are going to use today for demonstration. So you just go to that site, and if you're there with your laptop and you have not downloaded Git, so you just go there and you download the version that is compatible for your operating system. So while you do that, we will be moving ahead to see how Git works. So I have been able to download mine way before this session. And so I would be using it to do 1 or 2 demonstrations. So if you're there, I'll give like 2 minutes, depending on the quality of your internet. So if you already downloaded it, you should, if you're using Windows, you should hit the Windows key and you type Git. You can open the CMD, or you just open the Git bash application that first appears. Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, just let me know.
Please, where can we find the link you sent?
Oh, I just sent in the message box. I just sent it in the message box now.
Please, can you resend the link?
Okay, no problem.
Where is there now? Is it?
All right.
Sorry, sir. Is this we are supposed to download it?
Yes, it's an application.
Yes, you are.
It's an application. If you don't have it, you will not be able to use the various Git commands to do all of the exercises we're doing today, like create your file, and then we'll move ahead to merge all what we have done today on the same repository that lies on a particular server. So that's what we'll be able to do today before the end of the session.
I'm having problem with downloading my Git.
You have issues with your Git? Okay.
With downloading.
Oh, you have problems downloading? Oh, maybe you will just follow along. 1 more minute to go. I'm waiting for the others. Okay, let me just guide you through. So once you download it, just install it using the default settings, so you wouldn't have to check or uncheck any box that has been done by default, or you shouldn't check what you don't know. Just download it following the default settings. Let me know if you're done, guys, so we can continue.
It's falling now. Healing rain is falling now.
All right. Precious, please, here is the link. I will send the link again. I'm sending the link again. Please, this is the link. Just download it. If you have your laptop there, just copy the link or just follow the link and just type in the URL on your browser.
So I have. The thing is, I've clicked on the link, but the interface is confusing. I don't know which of the links to click on.
All right. So when you click, this is what you do. You click open the link, and you go here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Good. So you're going to download the version that is compatible to the operating system you're using. So if you click on Windows, this is the one that you will download for Windows. So it says click here to download the latest version of Git for Windows. So once you click on it, it's going to start downloading here. And you choose where you want to save it. But my default here is on that downloads folder on my computer, on my local computer.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So do that so we can continue. Okay, Jerome. Please unmute and you can speak.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I'm seeing I have installed the Git, but I'm seeing the Git bash, Git cmd, and the Git.
Yes. That shows that you have been able to download it successfully.
Yes.
So we are waiting for others so we can move.
Yeah. All right, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, Precious.
Yes, sir.
Any success?
The network is slow, but the call is recorded. I'll have to go through the call again and follow, so I won't delay us.
All right, no problem. Any other person who has not been able to download, maybe due to one reason or the other? Okay, then we'll just continue. So I guess most of us have downloaded Git. So what we are going to do now is we are going to be creating our very first repository. But before we do that, I would want us to be able to make sure that the version that we are using, maybe we check the version that we are using. We check the version by, writing the command. So once you have downloaded, we click on our Windows key. If you can see can you see my screen? Okay, so when you click on your Windows key, for those using Windows, you type on Git. So you are going to have these different applications of the tool you just downloaded. So you can click on Git bash. Once you click on Git bash, a small window is going to open. This is what we said. This is what this is why we said it is a command line tool. So what we are going to do is we are going to type git dash version. So to actually know the version which you're currently using. So if you can see my screen, please just let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right, perfect. So when you write git dash dash version, you're going to have this. And we are going to do a little bit of configuration, even though I wanted to leave this part as a small exercise that you can do. Because of time, we'll just do it. So Git configuration helps store your personal information like your username and your email. Because sometimes when you're collaborating on projects, the maintainers of that project might want you to sign in, or each time you're making a pull request, they want you to sign in with certain information, which is very important so that they know who worked on what file. So Git gives you, Git still gives you that leverage to be able to put in your information locally. So what we are going to do is we are going to be configuring our Git with our personal information so that Git knows who is actually working on what, or who is actually working on a particular file at a particular point in time. So what you're going to do is you do git config. So you are going to type in git config on your Git window. So you're going to type git config. So you are setting your name globally. Git config global user dot name. You can do that with your number or your whatever. So you can put in your username. Could just put Maya, but put in your username. So inverted comma open and close. So once I hit enter, it's going to save that username. So that's done for that. And I also set my email. Are we following? Git config global users email. All right, please unmute and ask your question. Please, you can unmute. Jerome. Are you there? All right, we continue. Yes, please unmute and ask your question.
All right, so downloaded my gig and I tried running the version, gig version, and I'm seeing a new version. But for your own, there you have gig 2.5. But for my end, I'm seeing a new version, a new option rather. Sorry. And for the email too, I'm seeing Fado not in a gig directory.
Okay, you mean for, please could you come again? I didn't really get the question.
I said for my end here, I'm
Yes.
seeing a gig version, I'm seeing unknown option.
Oh, unknown option.
Yeah, for my gig version.
Oh, please did you follow these instructions here? Because it's the same link it's from where
Yes.
And did you open Git Bash?
Yes, I open Git Bash.
Oh, why is it showing unknown version? Okay, let me see if I can send you. So maybe you can get the standalone installer and let's see. Maybe this one, Git for the 64-bit setup. I'm sure it's still the same version. Let me see what I can do to sort that. Okay, so try to open your command line and type in git-v. Let's see what it will say as well. What does it say?
Sorry, me, I should open my command prompt and type git.what?
Git-v. Just git-v. Git-v. Can you see my screen? Let me demonstrate what I mean. So just type something like git-v. Still is the short form for git-version. So you do this, let's see what you still get. Did you follow the default?
That's the same unknown version.
Unknown version. Oh. But at least the Git still works, right? At least it's still operating.
Yes, it's operating.
Okay, I don't know, maybe it could be caused by, I don't know if you follow the default settings, or maybe you might not have defined the environment variable for that particular application. But let's just continue working and see where it leads us to. So try to configure your Git, setting your username and your email, and let's see if there is still a problem with that.
We can proceed. All this is good. I'll try to move along.
Okay, so we are configuring our Git. So what have you put in your email? You hit enter, and that's all. We are done configuring our Git with our username and our email. Now let's move ahead to create our very first Git repository, which we are going to upload on a server online, and where all of us, we are going to be collaborating. So to create, and remember we said a repository is actually where we store our files, our folders, and all of the things that have to do with the project we are going to be working on. So we begin by creating a local repository. Local here means that you create it on your computer. You create it on your computer, and then you start adding files to that repository with the Git commands that we are going to see. And then we are going to be using these Git commands to include these files. Like we'll keep track of these files that we are adding on our repository. And then we are going to see how to merge, how to bring all of this work that we have done together. So the very first step for you to be able to create your Git repository is, so if you are on your command line to your Git, we are going to move to a particular folder where we want to create our repository. So to move from this current directory where we are, so if you look at my computer here, if you look at my computer here, we are going to move. So let me increase this. All right. So we are going to be moving. So we change directory. So we are first going to do a list to see where we are. So you write a command called the list command to be able to see where we currently are. To be able to see where you currently are so that we'll be able to, move to where we want. So what we are going to do is we type the list command. So you're going to type the list command here. So ls to move from current directory. So once you type that, to list the various directories that we actually have. To list all of the directories that we actually have. So you do that. So I'll just use dir for short form for directory. So we are going to do that. So I'll type ls. And so you see these are all of the different directories. In other ways, the folders that are on your laptop, that are on your local device. So we are going to move to a particular one called, maybe you want to store it on your desktop for today, but we are going to be looking at how and where we should be storing our repositories. So we are going to move to this particular one called, please unmute and ask your question, please.
Sir, I have pressed enter, but those ones have not come.
Did you do list? Did you do ls? The ls is not caps, please. Don't do caps, it's small letter. ls to list. So you do ls to list. Are we there? Any improvement? So just do ls to list all of the different repositories that we have on your computer so that we can move into a convenient repository where we can store, where we can create our project repository. So you see, these are the various repositories that are inside this current directory, my username directory. But if it doesn't work, we can still create this directly under your username. We can still create that directly under your username. So if this doesn't work, we'll just move ahead to create. So I will just clear my command line to my Git. So I'll write clear command to wipe everything that I have been trying to search. So what we'll do is we'll create. So to create our very first repository under this username, under the directory, the default directory of your Git tool, you're going to type in make dir. So it's a short form of make directory followed by the name of that repository, the name of that repository. So we are going to call it ByteBuilder repo, or you can call it anything. So once you do that, you hit enter. and we are going to have that particular repository created under this directory, this current directory that we are. But for those who have been able to move, for those who are able to see the list options, I'm going to show you how you can move to a particular directory. So if we're there, I'm just going to hit enter. So once I do that, it has been created. Now, notice if I run list again, I should be able to see builder repo created. So I'm just going to hit enter, and I will see it down here. You see, it's in this purple blue color here, blue, yeah, the bolded blue. So that's my ByteBuilder repository created, and all repository usually end with a slash to tell you that this is a directory. This is a location where you can actually store folders and files related to maybe that particular location, that directory. So if we are there, we can go ahead and initialize this particular repository. Initializing, in a sense, means that we are making it a Git repository such that we'll be able to use the Git commands on it and maybe add files and add other things. So if we are there, we are going to move into this. So the command to move into this is called cd, which actually means change command, change directory, sorry. So you change directory, so you do cd into byte. So once you start typing the name, you can hit the tab button to auto-complete since the name of an existing repository. Are we there? Are we following? Any worries? Is it moving? All right, so I'll move into it, and you can see now this directory here has actually changed. It has been extended to something ByteBuilder repository. Now I'll clear my terminal. Okay, now we are inside the ByteBuilder repository. So the next thing we are going to do is to initialize this repository. So we run the command git init. So it's a short form for, hey Git, take this repository and initialize it and make it an official Git repository. And then we can start adding files to it. Are we there? So git init, we have initialized it. Please unmute and ask your question.
Sir, mine has not brought to that one above the ByteBuilder repo.
Did you create it successfully? Did you list it and you saw it?
Yes.
Okay, now type cd space and then the exact spelling of the name of the repository, or you can start the name of the repository and hit the tab button on your left hand side of your keyboard, and it will auto complete for you. Once you hit enter, it's going to initialize it. And once it initializes it, you see a message that will follow along, and it will say that initialized empty Git repository in, they will give you the directory. You see that there is a .git file that has been created automatically inside our repository. And notice that our directory name has actually changed. The head is pointing to a branch called master. We are going to be looking at branching as we fast forward. Please let us be a little bit fast so we can meet up
So
with
when
the time.
I tapped the CD and I pressed tab.
No, you first type CD, you press the space bar and you start typing the name Byte, BYT, and then you can hit tab. So it's going to auto complete it for you. Is it working? Are we there? Any progress?
I'm typing.
Okay.
Nothing.
Nothing yet?
Yes.
Oh. Maybe I should write a command in the charts. Okay, so you do something like.
Sorry, Tutor Maya. Can you share? Okay, the PDF. Can you request mails to share the PDF of this Git class to the students?
Okay, no problem.
So, guys, the notes will be shared across to you guys, so you guys can check and practice it by yourself. Okay.
All right. Thank
you. Thank you so much, Bisola. So I'll just continue. So once you do that, we have initialized this Git repository and we can go ahead creating our very own files that are related to the project which we are working on. So for us to be able to do that, we can first verify to see if our repository has been created, should in case for some reason we don't have this message here. So you can just do a list inside. Remember that each time you're working in a repository, your directory here on the command line should be pointing to that repository. If it's not pointing there, then you are not working under that repository. So when you do list, you can see it's empty just as the message said. So nothing will appear to tell you that it has been initialized. And if you follow this link on your local device, you're going to find that particular file, the .git file there. So what we are going to do is we are going to start creating new files that are related to our project. So we are going to be doing a list. So we are going to be creating a file where we are going to be maybe listing or something, just writing something. So we use the command touch to be able to create a particular file. So touch, the name of the file, maybe we create a node file where we are going to just list some items. So we do list dot text. So this is where we are going to be creating our list. So I hit enter. And if I do list, you see we have successfully created one file under our repository where we are going to be listing, and we can open this particular file using the applications that are available like Node on our operating system. So we have an application that is meant to open this kinds of file. So once we do that, we can check. So if we do to check if we are keeping track of the changes we are making, we just check the status of our repository. So you write something like git status to check. You see, they'll tell you that on this head, this branch head, that this thing is working on, this repository we are working on. On branch master, we have things that we haven't committed. We have untracked files. So they are giving us a suggestion here that we should do a git add to include what will be committed, that we should include this particular file. Yes, please just unmute and ask your question.
Okay. So for the part where you said ls, I thought it lists only one file. I thought we
Yes,
were going to
yes.
create the readme.md.
Well, you can still create that one. I wanted something that will be simple for us to edit. This one here is just the steps and examples that you might want to use. We'll be looking at MD files when we'll be doing introduction to web development. So you're going to really see how you work with this, how you work with these files and how they are being used to contribute to projects that you're working on. So for today, we are demonstrating. Remember, the goal is to show you how to use this tool called Git and how you can track the changes that we make on a particular file and also merge them with the files that you and I will be working on today. So if you have created that, we have checked the status. We have checked the status of that particular file. Okay. So once you do that successfully, the Git is going to send you a message telling you that we should use git add to track the changes. So we are going to just write git add. Now, the question that Christian asked earlier before now about if you should do multiple changes before you add or commit your files onto the repository, this is where this particular command comes in handy. Now there are two ways to be able to add. You can decide to add file by file by just doing git add and then the file name. So the file name is a list.text. But another easier way for you not to be able to be doing this manually, so should in case you are working on a very large project and you have like 50 files that have been that you did edit on. So there is another format. There is a particular command that you can use still on git add. You can use git add and then with a dash with a full stop there to be able to add everything you're doing, everything that you are doing. So that is how you can do. So if you just do git add and then a full stop, it's going to add all of what we have been doing. So we have added everything. Should in case you have 20 files. So git add dot add everything you have been doing. So if we try to check the status of of our repository, again, you would see that something has been added on track. So you see here, they say we have this new file list. Now we have not staged it, so we have not committed this changes here. So we only keep track of it, but we haven't like said, okay, you should be able to keep this file here. I want to maybe merge. I want to maybe push it to the online repository. So on this branch, you should be able to stage this particular file for me. So what we will do is we are going to git commit. And here too, it still comes in handy if we have different commands, if you don't want. So if we have different commands here, if you don't want to just be doing all of your commit manually. So we have git commit and then dash am to commit all of the changes that were made to your files. And then you're going to pass in a parameter here, which is your message, such that you act as comments to the changes that you have made online. So that when I come there to do my own changes or to update my own version of the project, I'm going to see what exactly that you changed, what exactly that you updated. So my commit message here should be clear. Sometimes some maintainers will want you to actually state the issue, because on very large projects, as we'll be working on projects, you would see that some maintainers of the repository would want you to be able to pass your commit message as the name of a particular issue. That means the task that you're working on. So they want you to be able to pass the message as task 4 by Maya. So even just simple like that, so that they would know, even though they'll still be able to know that you made changes somehow. So Git sort of like keeps a history of the changes that you make. So we'll just do something like created a text file, thing like that, and that is it. You just commit, and that is it. We have committed our file, the changes we have made. And if you look at this, it comes with a commit message and a commit ID. Once I push these changes online, you're going to find this commit hash there. So you can use this hash to be able to revert. You can use this to be able to go back to a recent edit that you might have made. This particular say ID here has so many different uses. So they are telling you that they have created a mode on this, or on this ID for this particular file that we created. So that is it for creating a repository and adding files to that particular repository. So I will stop here and take questions before we fast forward to see how we can collaborate. Are there any questions? Any questions? All right. So once we have been able to successfully create our very own local repository. Okay, please just unmute.
Yes, just about the Git commit, and I don't know which file we put Git commit.
No, you just the command is git commit dash am to be able to commit, to stage all of the changes that you have made. So there are actually two commands. You can use git commit dash m to do individual commit, and you can also use git commit dash am to do a general commit.
All right, thank you. And the initial commit.
Yes, initial commit is just git commit dash am, that dash m for initial commit or just individual commits. So initial here is just an example that I use to be able to tell you that this is the very first time that I'm doing a commit message. And so I just call it initial commit.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. So on your own, you can as well still do something. You can just do something. My first commit is the same thing. It's the same thing as this other one, initial commit. This is just to reduce confusion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, now, once we have been able to create our repository, and now we want to see how you can create different copies of the work you are doing. Now, let's say we have been able to have these on our local computers. Now, for us to be able to make our workflow organized and prevent maybe accidental overrides, like somebody will now override the file that you made. So it is very important that we do what is called branching. We do what is called branching. So as we begin to work on the several different projects on GitHub, where we begin to do collaboration, we begin to begin to see how we do this branching. So we are going to be looking at how we collaborate on projects and the best practices that we can actually adopt to be able to handle all of these. Now, sometimes sometimes we don't really know how to do these things, but for us to be able to do this collaboration successfully, we have to go online. We have to have a repository online such that each member of the team is able to download this project from anywhere on their own personal computer onto their own local computer, so that everybody will have the same file, the same code, so that each time the work on it will be able to, have a unified copy of the project, something that works. So there are a number of different sites that actually help us to be able to do this. And one of the most popular sites that we are going to be using today is GitHub. So it's called GitHub. I don't know if anybody has heard about GitHub. So GitHub is something like a website. So it's hosted on a server. And the main purpose of GitHub is to be able to store Git repositories. So we saw how we got the Git application installed on our local device, and we're able to use some commands to create our Git repositories. Now, GitHub is this one of these unique tools that enable us as developers to be able to collaborate on the projects that we decide to work on. So it gives us that platform to be able to have Git repositories stored on them. So this is where you store all of the repositories, all of the things, the folders, the images, and all of the files, or maybe the codes that you have written concerning that project. GitHub allows you to be able to store them in the form of Git repository. So you first have to be able to create your repository locally, and you initialize that repository using the git command, git init, so that it will be able to be stored on our GitHub website, or the GitHub server, I'll call it like that. So we are going to see how we'll host this our repository on this platform, and we'll be able to access GitHub repositories and manipulate the repositories by changing the files that are stored in them. So while we are considering that, I don't know, as we have our laptop, we'll just have to go online and get to see how we can use this tool to be able to do our collaboration. So if you have never used GitHub before and this is your first time, we'll begin by first going there and be able to see how you'll be able to create your own account. So if you want to do that, you just need to go to github.org, which is the official site, which is the official GitHub website URL. So you just go there, and we are going to open that. So I'll send the link. Okay, please just unmute and just.
I wanted to ask you, because
Yes.
I never completed the Git, that I cannot install GitHub when I have not yet completed the other, because I was
Yes.
stuck somewhere.
Yes, it's very possible. Remember, Git is a host, is a website. It's a website. GitHub, sorry, is a website that allows us to be able to store our Git repositories remotely. So once you are accessing your browser, you create your account on GitHub, then you'll be able to do that. So that is what we want to do now. So we'll just move onto
All right,
GitHub.
thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So we'll just move on to GitHub, and we'll begin by first creating a new repository. So I'll just follow this link from here. So we'll start by creating a new repository. But if you have not had an account here, so we'll have to let you set that up, and you can do that following this particular link here. I'll send that in the chats. Okay. So you can as well also follow that to start creating your account or get started. So I'll just open GitHub here. I have a GitHub account already. So this is my account here. Are we there? So you get started, use the links that I sent. You just get started and you log in using your Gmail, or you create your own password. Once you, okay, just unmute and ask your question, please.
So please, actually I've been left behind, but that's not a problem. So all I want to say is, will we have access to a recording that we will practice along, because
Yes.
I've actually been left behind.
Yes, please, you would have the recordings.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just move a bit faster so we can close. So once you have done so, there is, if you open your account like mine here, there is a little plus sign up here on the top right corner of your page. So there is a little plus sign there. You can click on it and take new repository, or you can import a repository. So we are going to be looking at creating a new repository. So we'll look at creating a new repository and importing a new repository a bit faster. So I'll begin with creating a new repository. You do this by first giving the name of that repository, and I'm just going to call it ByteBuilder. ByteBuilder, it's the name of our repository. You can see here it says successful. The next step, once you have created the name of the repository, you can give a description, maybe say a demo project or the ByteBuilder Bootcamp. So once you do this, you can also do some other configurations. You can leave it public. You can make it private. You know, when you leave it public means that anyone on the internet can see the repository. And private, you choose who can see, who can commit, you know, to the repository. So that is what this is. So here I'll just leave it public since most of us will be using that. And we don't want to put any other template. So the description is totally optional, as you can still do that later on. We also have a README file. Please, the person that was asking for create a README, you have the option to add it here. You have the option to add it here. So after almost choosing whether the repository should be public or private, you can also decide whether you want to add the README file or not. So we could just add the README file. Remember, README file holds information or guidelines on how to work on this project, how to download particular tools that will be needed for this project, and so on. So it's also optional. You can as well not add it, or you can as well add it later on in your project. So we'll just add that, and we are going to click on create repository. So once you do that, this is our repository here. So we have created our repository. You can see this is the description of that repository, a demo project for the ByteBuilder Bootcamp 2025. This is on the branch called master. So this is GitHub, and this is, we have just created our online, our remote repository called ByteBuilder, and the status of it is a public repository. It's a public repository. So once we have a repository, we'll probably want to add some files to it, and to do that, we are going to maybe create some files remotely. So you might want to do that by creating some files remotely or importing some of the files so you can upload the files that we created. I don't know if at this point anybody has any questions, any worries, something that you want me to explain again. Any questions? All right, so we'll continue. So once we have that, we might want to create a copy of other files remotely, or we upload. And now, since we already have something on our computer, we can as well just upload it here, and the changes are going to reflect. Everybody is going to see that. So everybody can as well have a copy of this on their computer. And now what we are going to do for you to be able, once you have Git installed as we have done on your computer, what next to do is we are going to download this version of the repository onto our computer. So here we are assuming that I am the maintainer of this project, and I have created a repository for us to work on. So for us to be able to do that, each and every one of us is going to have a GitHub account, and you're going to search for the name of this repository, ByteBuilder, created by me. My username is Marius11. So you see that there. And so for you to be able to have this, there are two ways. So you can first download a copy of this project onto your own GitHub account, so you can fork this repository. So the term here is called fork. So fork here is sort of like downloading this application onto your own account, and you'll be able to have that reflected as repositories forked from Marius11 into your own GitHub account. And one way it's going to show it's something like this. I will just show you a repository I forked. So I'll go to repositories. Once you create your account, this is how your interface will look like. So you see this one here. I was able to fork this repository from the community, the DevByte community. This is a front-end repository. So once you click on that fork, you'll be able to have these like this on your repositories. So we are going to go back to our own repository here. Now, another option is for you to be able to click on this little green button here and clone. So we are going to be cloning using this URL. This URL. So you copy this URL. One way is for you to clone using this URL, or you are going to download the zip of this folder onto your computer and open it using a particular tool that we are going to be using. So the tool that how we are going to download this particular repository is to click this small button here. We have copied it, and we go on to our command line tool, and we are going to write the command git clone. So we are going to write the command git clone here, and we paste the URL we just copied. So once we paste it, just take note of what happens. I will hit enter. You see it's cloning ByteBuilder. Okay, there is a typing error from my end. So I'll write git clone again. But first, let me clear my terminal. I will clear my terminal so the terminal is clean. I'll write git clone. I'm going to type git clone on my terminal, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to paste what I just copied. So my computer says I should use a shortcut control install. Okay. I don't know if it has pasted because I can't see it. Okay, I don't know if it has pasted. Okay, it couldn't paste. I will clear again.
Sir, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me? All right. Okay, so as I was illustrating, we are trying to download the version that we have online onto our local computer. So in our terminal, we are trying to clone what we just copied online. So we are trying to clone what we copied, and I'm trying to type in the command git clone. Git clone is the command that we use. Git clone, and we paste. I don't know, my paste is disturbing. So control insert is what my keyboard wants me to use. So, but it's not working. Okay, I will just use something else to demonstrate this. So I'll just use the command line. CMD. So you do something like this, the clone. Oh, I'll have to CD. Yes, hello, please just unmute and ask your question, please. Please just unmute and ask your question. Please unmute and ask your question. I'm having some issues pasting, but if you paste on your terminal, you have something like this. This is an example of how it will look like. For the sake of time, I don't know what is happening. Okay, git clone. It's not still going. It's not going, but you should be able to paste from your own end. Or maybe I should just use some other application so we demonstrate this. But please, this tool, you're going to see that in your next class. I just want us to be able to do the Git thing. Please, the screen should not, don't be frightened, please. I just want to open Git Bash using this other tool so that I should be able to demonstrate this. All right, so I'm going to go back into our repository where we are. So I'm going to do git clone. And I'm going to paste okay, git clone. I don't know, it's like my terminal is misbehaving today. I don't know what is wrong with it, but has anyone succeeded? Please just let me know. Has anyone succeeded? My right click doesn't want to work again. It keeps showing something else. See, my right click keeps showing something else. I just have a technical problem from my end. Has anyone succeeded? Maybe we can use yours as an example. But this is just how you're going to have it here. The same way I have this one here, it's the same way. So once you hit the paste button on after your git clone command, you're going to have this message displayed where it's going to say cloning into the repository that you have chosen. So we want to clone inside our DevByte repository. It will clone and give you the amount of space in terms of bytes or kilobytes that the project actually has. So this is the message you're going to have. And after you have successfully cloned it, you're going to run the command list to be able to see all of the files. Like what I did here is I cloned this repository, this one called Community API Backend. I'm sure you were able to see this on my GitHub account. So I was able to clone that, and once you clone that, you run list. So if I delete, I'll just delete this. So if I run list here, like we said, and you're going to see all of the dev files that I have here. So you can see still yet my thing is not working. Okay, so I have to cd into community API and do list. Good. So you can see here, they said into this directory, and these are the various. They might not even show. They show you just some of the packages that are available here. But if I move into the front end here and do a list, if I move into the community, if I move into this community web front end, you're going to see what I'm talking about. It's going to list all of these files that are present. It's the same thing I'm trying to demonstrate here, that once you have cloned your online repository, you hit the command list, you're going to have the files and folders that are created. So in this case, we are going to have just the README file, just this file that will be present inside your repository which you have downloaded online from online. So if you run cd into the name of the repository that you actually want to work on, and you want to add other files, just the same process, you are going to use a touch command to be able to create a new file. So what I'm going to do is we'll do that. I don't know if my terminal will still work, but I have a technical problem with that. Just the same way I've demonstrated, we open our Git tool and we run the cd command to go into the name of the repository which we have downloaded to change directory. And once we are inside, like here, once we are inside here, this is our repository. You do list to be able to see things that are inside, and you can add different files so that you can now commit them. So once we have created them, we add them. We add them by letting Git know that we want it to be keeping track of the new files that we have made. So doing that, we still use the same command that we saw called git add, then the name of the file, or we use the general command git add and a full stop to keep track of those specific files that we have added. So this is still the command here. So all we use git add and a full stop to be able to keep track to the specific files that we want, that we have created within that same directory. Now, the next thing that we want to still look on is sort of like doing a recap from the very beginning. We had a camper who actually said he did not understand, so this is part of the recap. So once we have added, we do commit. So we use this command to sort of like stage. So we after we have added our file, we use the commit command to be able to save snapshots, those snapshots that were saying that if you find an information online and you want to keep that information somewhere so that you don't forget it, is the function of Git. So we commit those changes by taking snapshots of the current state of those files. Like just what I demonstrated, you run git commit -m, then the message that you actually pass there, the message describes the changes that you just made, like I said. And sometimes some maintainers want you to stage, but the name of the task you're working on. So after this change, you can now run git status to see how our code compares to the code that was from the remote file. So if we added something on, the README file, this README file, if you run git status, like if we came to the README file, because once you download this README file, you'll be able to edit it. I just hope that we'll demonstrate this in the next lesson where they'll be doing instruction to web. You'll be doing installation of tools, and you will definitely be editing on a README file. Unfortunately, today my terminal is disturbing. I cannot really edit on it. So I'll just explain from the node. So after this change has been made, you run git status to be able to compare what was there. Remember, what we have on this file is a demo project. So we have ByteBuilder as our topic, a demo project for the ByteBuilder Bootcamp 2025. Now, if you come there and add something, or maybe say you want to add something like contributions, like what I have here. So if you want to add something like contributing to DevByte, so this is a task that was given. So contributing to DevByte, you want to add, we are excited that you are interested in contributing to the following. So you have to follow the following steps, and you want to add these particular steps, and you have added them to what is already there. Now, if you kind of like stage if you kind of like stage using your commit message, the changes that you have made is what we are trying to talk about. So that is what we mean by the code, that it compares your code to the code on the remote repository. And once we have that, we are ready now to publish our local commit to GitHub. By doing that, once you have added, you commit, now we use the command git push to do so. So once we do a git push, we go to GitHub and we'll be able to see the changes reflected, like what I did here.
Political views and calculations. But as for,
sorry,
we're not in a military time where you capture people. You're a leader.
Chris, who is talking? All right, so when we do git push, we go now on GitHub. Here, you see, I was able to do a commit. My initial commit was what I did by creating this README file. Once you do a git push, this is where it's going to appear with your commit message. So here, my commit message by default is initial commit. And this here is the ID of my commit message. Like I said, you can use this ID to do many things. You can revert back to a previous version of the changes you made, and you see the timestamp here. It gives you the date and the time. So we did this commit 25 minutes ago. So by this user here. So this is exactly what you find once you use git push. This is exactly what you find. The file that you committed, the commit message, and the number of minutes that that file was, a change was made on that particular file in that repository. So that's just it. That's just how we are able to work and collaborate on a particular image. So what I was talking about, staging or adding several files at a time, or one at a time. So if for example you change the files that were already created, like the README file, and you did not create another one, so you should just use the git add and a dot, like git add full stop and then git commit dash am, to be able to add those files that you didn't create automatically. So you don't need the name of the file. You only need the name of the file if you created one file for the very first time, a single file that you want to add, and you created it. So you use just simple git add and the name of the file, like we demonstrated up. So you use git add and the name of the file, this git add and the name of the file, to track that, to be able to track that specific file. And if you didn't really create that file for some reason, you just edited a file that was already in that repository, you use git add and this full stop without the name of the file to be able to add all of those files that you made changes to. Whether you made changes to 1,000 files, you just do this and it's going to automatically add all of them on track, and git commit dash am will commit all of the changes that you made. And sometimes we realize that what is on, since you are not the only person working inside this repository at the time being, sometimes some other colleagues of yours might have added some information or updated some files. So this particular repository will be ahead of your current repository that is on your local device, your local computer. So you would want to, pull from the online version so that the changes that are there should be able to synchronize with the ones on your local computer. To do that, you use a git pull, the git pull command, to be able to synchronize, to be able to be up to date with the version of the project on our GitHub to that on your local computer. So once you do that, you are good to go. Now, most of the times when collaborating on projects, we experience problems. And one of these problems can emerge when we are working with projects that has to do with so many people contributing on the same repository. And some of these problems are what we term merge conflicts. So like now I'm working on the README file, and let's say Jerome is also working on the README file, or Christian is working on the README file. And then let's say some other person, say Kingsley, is working of the same README file. Now a merge conflict tends to occur when Kingsley attempts to change a file in a way that conflicts with Christian's own changes. So this kind of conflicts will generally occur when we start pushing or pulling from the repository while we are editing on the same files. So Git will automatically change the file into a format that aligns what the conflict is, and sometimes even suggests how to resolve it. So I didn't really I skipped this area. I went on to remove this particular part because I knew that I would not be able to demonstrate it, and my terminal is not working. So there are some examples of the conflicts that I was supposed to do here, but I just removed it. I'll push it forward to the next session so that they really demonstrate this and show you how you resolve merge conflicts and how you handle these issues, so that it will help you, because that's one of the very first problem that you will encounter once you start contributing to online projects, or maybe even contributing to the ByteBuilder repository that we just created. So you might want to be doing something there, and Jerome is also adding something, and another person is adding something. So you come up with all of this because one of you might be pushing and another one is pulling from the same repository and on the same file. So you generally would experience some conflicts that need to be resolved. And I'll just push this part to the next session, and even the branching, but I'll just talk a little bit on the branching, because most of the times, maybe if you decide that you want to add additional features from the main, if you look at this repository that I just created, it's on the main branch, and sometimes we wouldn't want to come and overwrite what has been written on this main branch. So we just want to commit the changes of the new feature that you actually created on a different branch. So this new feature that we are talking about is demonstrated on the lesson note in the form of this picture. So we assume that our GitHub, our ByteBuilder repository has been created on the master branch as it is shown here. So it is actually on the master branch. And let's say Kingsley would want to add another feature to this project. Let's say we were doing a list and now they have decided that it's not only list that we want. We want to be able to add, maybe draw some, or add our experiences that we have had. That is another new something that we are adding to this project. And we want to add this new feature, and we don't want to override what has been done in the main repository, because it might cause a problem. Maybe it was not what we intended to add to the project. We just wanted to maybe test, or maybe just move to another direction and only work there and see if it's going to work for us. And if we don't do this, we'll end up having problems with the main repository because of the changes and the many changes that we have done. And then you just came in and then started a new feature. You just started creating another thing and you kept working on that new feature, which is not actually what was decided upon the creation of that project. So you'll see that it will be a problem sometimes because we might be faced with bugs in the original repository, in the master repository, and to revert back to our original copy, maybe without changing the new feature, that we want to implement. Let's say later on we agree that, okay, let this thing be implemented, but let's first test and see how it will work. So for us to be able to do this without changing the new feature that Kingsley started creating is where branching comes in handy. So branching is one of the methods of moving into a new direction when you are creating a new feature. So you only have to do that. So you create it on a different branch. So you move in a different direction, way out of the main part of our code. So the main branch, you don't touch it, you don't edit something on it. You create a new branch. And then you work on that branch. And once we all agree as a team, all the maintainer sees that, okay, what you have done is good, and we can take that as an update or add that as that new feature to our main project, we sort of like now be able to merge it into our project. And one of the ways for you to be able to demonstrate this branching, which I would beg that we'll move it to the next session, is shown on this particular picture below. So you actually started working on that new feature, and this is our master branch. So we wouldn't want to include it on this branch so that we come and start fixing bugs and disagreeing and deleting things, and maybe somebody might end up deleting the main files, and that will really cause a lot of delays on the project. So you, from this end where you want to be doing your more changing and adding new things, you create a branch. Where you can call it a future branch, and then you can keep working on that particular branch. So that particular branch it's where you are working. So anything that is on master, that branch, anything that is on that branch, everything that is there is not what exactly is on master, because you have introduced a new feature which you're working on. And so you create this branch and you start working on it. And by default, all of these branches, they point to one head. So at the end of the day, you will be able to, bring these branches together and merge them. So now, for you to be able to do this, you should be able to first know how to create that branch. So how to actually implement a branch under a repository, or maybe in our Git repository, is you run this command called git branch to see the current branch that you are actually working on. So for you to be able to see that you are not working on master, or you are working on some other branch that is other than this master branch here, you will be able to use the git command called git branch to help you to see the current branch on which you're working on. So if I sort of like do, if I open my terminal here and maybe do a git branch here. So if I do git, I just hope my terminal still works. If I do a git branch here, okay, it's not still working. So I will just go back. Okay, git branch. I just hope this one works, else I will just stop using my terminal. Okay, so you see here that it tells me that I'm actually working on the main branch of my repository, the main. This one here is on the main. So it has shown that I'm working on the main branch. And if this main branch is a main branch of where the repository first came from, then I would have to create another branch in case I want to update this contribution.md file, where I want to first contribute and then make sure that the maintainer of this our repository first confirms that what I've added is enough to be added to the main repository, and then before the merge it. So I would now be able to make a new branch if it doesn't agree. And for us to be able to make a new branch, we will run this command, git checkout -b, and then the name of the branch that you would want to create. So once you do that, you will now create that branch from master. So it will no longer be on the master branch, but now the name of the branch is, maybe you are working on that new feature, you can call it new feature branch. And once you do that, you should be able to switch like what we did here. So here we were working on a particular branch, we wanted some changes, so we created a branch and switch. So we switch from the master branch to the feature branch. And for you to be able to do that, we run the command git checkout and then the branch name. So git checkout, the branch name, it would help us to be able to move now to that branch. So if I want to move to another branch here, maybe I'll do git checkout master. Okay, master did not match. So let me create a new branch here, git checkout -b checkout. So git checkout -b future. Oh, sorry, that was a spelling mistake from my end. Okay. All right, so I have switched to a new branch called feature. You can see that here. So that's how I can demonstrate that. So I just switched to a new branch using that command. And now I can make the changes that I was talking about. I can do all of the changes. And so when we are ready to merge, all the changes and the maintainer has agreed, so we just use the command git merge. I will not be able to merge that particular one because I'm not done with the changes that I'm doing on this project, so I cannot merge it. But hopefully in the next session, you will be able to have this demonstrated to you. So that is it about Git. That is it about GitHub. That is it about how we collaborate on Git with other persons working on the same project. This is a small demonstration of how this works. So some other features that are more to Git is forking, which I talked about, a pull request. This one you're going to see that when we will be working on projects. So you are going to pull. So you may want to request that the changes you have added to a main version of the repository be reviewed So you use what we call pull request. Pull request is when you have created something and this is a pull request here. You can create a pull request based on a task that you were working on. So on an issue that you were working on and things like that. So that's another side of GitHub. And we also have what they call GitHub pages. It's a simple way that you can use to publish your static sites. I hope that I'll have another time to be able to show you this. So that is it for today. And before I hand the mic on to the admin center decks, I think this is all what we have been able to see, from creating a new repository to cloning to seeing how we can push and to see how we could navigate some of we could navigate our way around the repositories that we have created. And we saw how we could revert back to the repositories that to the versions of the files that we might have created in our repositories. So that will be all for this session. And next time we'll be looking at introduction to web development. Thank you guys for listening. I don't know if there are any questions, but at this moment I would want the admin to say a few words and then you can ask your question while we'll send the notes in the group. Thank you all. Center decks, I don't know if you're there.
Yeah, I am here. Good evening, everybody. I don't have much to say. I want to thank you so much for the impact. I believe we are all loaded. Please, like I said, take screenshots of your screen, go to all your social media, start posting, tag us, document your journey, document what you are doing. That's how you grow. We all started like this, and that's just the thing. So take a screenshot of what we are seeing now, go to all your social media, talk about what you've learned today, just talk about it. That's how it's just sink into your memories. So thank you so much, Maya. I really, really appreciate you. Your teaching is always detailed. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good night, everybody. If there's any other thing, I'll be in the background.
Okay, so that will be it. In our next session, which is coming on the 17th, we are going to be looking at introduction to web development, where you will be getting a deep understanding into the digital landscape. You'll be maybe starting your first web page development and more. So that is it from my end. I don't know if there are any questions. As regards to the notes, we are going to send them in your main group. And the session is live, so you can watch it on YouTube. So if there are no questions, I will just stop sharing my screen and we can call it a night. Until then, bye to all.